No member of the Senate has done more to strengthen whistleblower rights since the 2006 elections than Senator McCaskill.
I'd like to tell you I'm not going to speak for very long. I know you all have other speakers, but I do want to tell you why I am so focused on this issue. I want to tell you how I got here. Why is it that I came to Washington and immediately gravitated towards trying to strengthen the laws for whistleblowers? Well, I started out as an assistant prosecutor. And in those days, back in the late 70s, in the Kansas City prosecutor's office, there weren't very many that looked like me. In fact, for a period of time, I was the only one that looked like me. It was a very male-dominated office. And unfortunately, because of that, I found myself with really hard cases sometimes, cases that were very difficult to make. And many of them were not very glamorous. They were things like food stamp fraud and, burglaries and things that, especially at the beginning, before I kind of earned my keep, they were really throwing me what was known around the office as the dogs. And during that period of time, I began to respect the power of a good witness, a factual witness, the power of someone who was there and who saw what happened and could convey it with courage. I saw both kinds. I saw witnesses that refused to say anything because they were worried about themselves, and I saw witnesses that were able to step across the line and say, I'm going to talk about this because it's for the greater good. Then I moved on to the auditor's office, and we were able to do some really bang-up audits. I mean, some stuff that, with not only was there smoking guns, there were bonfires. And invariably, every time we did one of these audits that was so strong, it could always be traced back to a whistleblower. Someone who was a fact witness, who was quote unquote at the scene of the crime, and who was willing to step across that line, be courageous, and speak out publicly for the greater good. And Missouri, believe me, you think the federal law for whistleblowers is bad. I mean, it is a horrible law for whistleblowers in Missouri. In fact, the only protection the whistleblowers have in Missouri was to talk to the state auditor's office. Woohoo for me. Not good for the rest of the government. Obviously, my first priority was defense contractors, because that's where it's almost like shooting fish in a barrel in terms of problems. 70% of the discretionary spending in government is DOD, and I don't need to tell this room how much of that is in private contracting. And when I realized that we didn't have even baseline protections for employees of private contractors in the defense area, I knew that we needed to get busy. At the same time that contracting has exploded in DOD, mostly because we went into the Iraq War without a large enough force to do what the president wanted to do. As that contracting literally exploded, the funding for auditors, contracting officials, and IGs flatlined. So, on one hand, you have this huge stream of gajillions of dollars into private contractors' hands, and you have the folks that are supposed to be looking over their shoulder, staying steady in many instances, actually losing personnel. Lots of people to watch, nobody to watch them. There's a saying in the Army that every soldier is a safety officer, where we would like the saying to be in the Army, every contractor is an auditor. Every employee of a contractor is an auditor. So the expanded coverage that we were able to get for whistleblowers in the private sector as in the field of DOD contracting, I think, is going to pay great dividends to the taxpayers. I am not going to stand here and tell you that there has never been a frivolous lawsuit filed in the United States of America. Certainly there have been. But I can also tell you that all you have to do is look at the numbers in this area of the law, and it is pretty clear that there aren't lawyers lining up to say, please let me take your whistleblower case. Winning a whistleblower case, going all the way to the end and prevailing in a court of law in this country, the odds are very similar to winning the lottery. Now, that is not an area of the law that anyone can, with a straight face, can say, oh my gosh, the frivolous lawsuits, we must clamp down. It's just the opposite. Whistleblowers finding a lawyer that is willing to spend the time and the money to pursue one of these cases is a very, very difficult proposition. And I know when I said that, I have heads nodding. Lots of heads nodding. President Obama has repeatedly voiced his support for whistleblower reform. We know we have some champions over in the House. I know that Congressman Waxman was cranky that we were not able to get it in the stimulus bill, those provisions that we wanted to get in there. But I do hope that you all don't give up. I won't give up. I hope you figured that out about my personality. I am borderline obnoxious. In fact, some people would say I am obnoxious about this kind of stuff, and I'm going to keep working to make sure that we find the right vehicle to give the kind of whistleblower protections to every federal employee that we have managed to give on a piecemeal basis to employees of those who work for the federal government and the private sector. I'm really happy to be here today, and I can't tell you if, you know, I'm going to be candid here and tell you that it's not unusual for senators to get awards because you go home and lots of different groups want you to come to speak, and which is great, and they give you an award. And some of them all of them are nice, and I appreciate every single one of them, but some of them have special meaning to me. And this particular recognition by you means much more to me than you can possibly imagine. I want to be your champion. I will continue to be your champion, and thank you for having me this morning.